Alright, this is Job 39 in the MacArthur Study Bible and the Enduring Word Commentary. Alright, a little refresher from 38. God begins to speak to Job and starts asking him these questions about, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? And who determined its measurement? Surely you know. And have he commanded the morning and caused the dawn to know its place? Have you entered the springs of the sea? Yeah. Do you know where to find light and its dwelling place? Yep. Have you entered the treasury of snow? Yeah. Or the treasury of hail, which I've reserved for the time of trouble? Yep. Do you have control over the constellations? Do you send out lightnings where they would go? Yep. Can you hunt the prey for lions or satisfy the appetite of young lions? Yep. And do you provide food for the raven? Alright, and basically God continues to ask these questions in relation to the animal kingdom in 39. But basically bringing Job to the realization later on where he comes to the conclusion later on where he says, I uttered what I don't understand, and basically I have no right to question you. Yeah, since you're sovereign over everything. So what you would say goes. Alright, so 39. First section regarding mountain goats, wild donkeys, and wild oxen. Alright, 1 through 4. Do you know about or master the wild goat, the wild mountain goat? So do you know the time when the wild mountain goats bear their young, or can you mark when the deer gives birth? Can you number the months that they fulfill, or do you know the time when they bear young? They bow down, they bring forth their young, they deliver their offspring, the young ones are healthy, they grow strong with grain, they depart and do not return to them. Alright. And I read this note in the previous video, but I'll go ahead and read it again. So, in summary of this chapter, God asked Job the humiliating questions about whether he could take care of the animal kingdom. Job must have been feeling less and less significant under the crushing indictment of such comparisons with God. Alright. And Enduring Word talks about these verses. Yeah, do you know the time when wild mountain goats bear their young? So here God kept bringing the level of knowledge down for Job. He could quite convincingly know so much. He could know quite conceivably, he could quite conceivably know such facts of nature from simple observation. Yet, this relatively low level of knowledge was beyond Job. Well, it actually seems like, based on what's been going on in the previous chapter, it seems like God is really moving down, from the big things of creation, like creation itself, him, creating the earth, everything in it, and now kind of moving down lower and lower in creation. Basically, you can't even understand, all the massive stuff, but you can't really understand even the lower stuff when you get all the way down to the animal kingdom and how all that works. Yeah. Yeah, much less you don't know the measurements of the earth, which is like one of the big things. Yeah. So these questions seem to be going down lower and lower and lower right here. Yep. 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 So yet this low level of knowledge was beyond Job. Though Job didn't know these principles of the natural order, at the same time he had to admit that the natural order all seemed to work pretty well. All these questions brought Job before another truth, like this. I see that this world made by God operates with remarkable order and wisdom. Yeah, can I deny his wisdom and government of all things just because there are things in my own life that I can't understand? Or should I simply just trust this God who does all these other things so marvelously well? Yep, there you go. Yeah, stuff in my life may not be making any sense, but yet he wired everything pretty well. So should I just trust him? Hey, there you go. I think that's it. Alright. And they bow down and bring forth their young. Yeah, talking about when the deer gives birth. So here God reminded Job of the arrangement and the growth and maturity he had engineered of the natural order. Yeah, did Job design this or even know much about it? No. And how could you have such order happen if it's all accident? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Yep. Alright, and then 5 through 8. Do you know about or master the wild donkey? Alright. Who set the wild donkey free? Who loosened the bonds of the onager. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. Onager. Yeah. Yeah. Whose home have I made in the wilderness, and the barren land his dwelling? He scorns the tumult of the city. He does not heed the shouts of the driver. The rage of the mountains is his pasture, and he searches after every green thing. All right. And Job had no knowledge of these facts of nature. He had even less power over animals. Those things belong to God and not to Job. So he has no power over the wild donkey or the onager. Yeah. And MacArthur says it's just another kind of donkey. And Enduring Word says it's just another name for a wild donkey. Yeah, and Smick says one of the most admired animals of the Old Testament world was a wild donkey. It was a compliment and a promise of inevitable freedom when the angel declared that Ishmael, Genesis 16:12, would become a wild donkey of a man. The creature was admired for both its freedom and its ability to survive under the harshest conditions. Yep, the range of the mountains is his pasture, and he searches after every green thing. So God knew how the wild donkey lived and was provided for. Job obviously did not. Alright, 9 through 12. Yeah, do you know about or master the wild ox? Will the wild ox be willing to serve you? Will he bed by your manger? Can you bind the wild ox in the furrow with ropes? Or will he plow the valleys behind you? Will you trust him because his strength is great? Or will you leave your labor to him? Will you trust him to bring you home your grain and gather it to your threshing floor? So, Enduring Word continues, no doubt that Job was smarter than a wild ox. Yeah, no one would doubt Job was smarter than a wild ox. Yet the ox would not serve him. He lacked both the knowledge of and mastery over the natural world. And Anderson says, the beast in question is the aurochs, however you say that. Yeah, not the fabled unicorn. And this enormous animal was the most powerful of all hoofed beasts, exceeded in size only by the hippopotamus and the elephant. It is the standard symbol of strength in the Old Testament, where it is mentioned 9 times. And God said, can you bind the wild ox in the furrow with ropes? So understanding this fearsome nature of this wild ancient ox, God here painted a humorous picture for Job. One might just as easily picture Job using a rhino to plow his field or put into his barn. Yeah, would you be able to have this animal do work for you? Do you have any control over such an animal? No. Yeah, you may as well try it with the rhino. How well would that work? Yep. Alright, and then the second section regarding ostriches, horses, and hawks. Alright, 13 through 18. Do you understand the ostrich? The wings of the ostrich wave proudly, but are her wings and pinions like the kindly stork's? For she leaves her eggs on the ground and warms them in the dust. She forgets that a foot may crush them or that a wild beast may break them. She treats her young harshly as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain without concern, because God deprived her of wisdom and did not endow her with understanding. When she lifts up on high, she scorns the horse and its rider. All right. So MacArthur says that the ostrich is the silly bird that leaves her eggs on the ground. Yeah, the silly bird that leaves her eggs on the ground lacks sense. God has not given her wisdom. She is almost a picture of Job, who was a mixture of foolishness and strength. Yeah, who really does not have full wisdom. Yeah, and none of us do. Yep. Alright. An endearing word says, God here spoke of the proudly waving wings of the flightless ostrich. The wings of the ostrich wave proudly. Perhaps Job could explain why a flightless bird has wings, or why the winged creature is flightless. And Anderson says, it is what it is, a silly bird, because God made it so. Why? The comical account suggests that amid the profusion of creatures, some were made to be useful to men, but some are just there for God's entertainment and for ours. Yeah, we don't use the ostrich to do any work for us. Yeah, you can go see him at a zoo, but anyway, or maybe on a safari, I don't know. Yeah. God has deprived her of wisdom. So here God reminded Job that God is the dispenser of wisdom. He gives or withholds as pleases him. And Mason says, it was through these wonderful and strange examples, like the ostrich, that God both taught and entertained Job. And basically like this. Mason says, get used to my absurdity and live by faith rather than by sight. Be like the ostrich. Though you cannot fly, you can still flap your wings joyfully. Yeah, just trust in me even if what I do doesn't make any sense to you, or it just doesn't seem right sometimes. All right. And 19 through 25. Do you understand or master the horse? Have you given the horse strength? Have you clothed its neck with thunder? Can you frighten him like a locust? His majestic snorting strikes terror. His paws in the valley and rejoices. He paws in the valley and rejoices in his strength. He gallops into the clash of arms. He mocks at fear, and he is not frightened. Yeah, nor does he turn back from the sword. The quiver rattles against him, the glittering spear and javelin. He devours the distance with fierceness and rage. Nor does he come to a halt because the trumpet has sounded. At the blast of the trumpet, he says, "Aha!" He smells the battle coming from afar, the thunder of captains and shouting. All right. MacArthur says here is a magnificent, vivid picture of the war horse. And that's actually the last note from MacArthur, so the rest of it will be endearing word. All right. So, like many, Job could be impressed with the majestic strength of the horse, yet he had no strength to give the horse. Yeah, he had no strength to give to the horse. It came from God and not from Job or any other man. Anderson says, "Can you make such an animal? Can you control him? Even the well-broken and best-trained mount might break from the restraints from the most skilled rider, so that even the one domesticated animal included in this list is not completely under the control of man." Yeah, you can break a horse down, yeah, but ultimately it's still not in the control of man. Yeah, I mean, you leave a horse alone, it's going to do whatever. So, yeah, you definitely, look, watch the movie Spirit. Yeah, Spirit was a hard horse that could be controlled. Yeah, he just wanted to keep doing his own thing. It's a good movie. Alright, he mocks at fear and is not frightened, nor does he turn back from the sword. So Job could give no explanation for the warrior nature of a horse, which operates against reason and the self-interest of the horse. Yep. Yeah, not everything makes sense in our minds. Yeah, because God is beyond all of our understanding. So. Alright, and finally, 26 through 30. Do you understand or master the hawk or the eagle? Does the hawk fly by your wisdom and spread its wings towards the south? Does the eagle mount up at your command and make its nest on high? On the rock it dwells and resides, on the crag of the rock in the stronghold. From there it spies out the prey. Its eyes observe from afar. Its young ones suck up blood. Yep, and where the slain are, there it is. Okay. So, after considering many land animals and the wisdom and mystery surrounding them, now God turned to the majestic bird, the hawk. Job cannot explain, much less create, the mechanics of flight for this noble bird. And Mason is quoting from G.K. Chesterton. So G.K. Chesterton writes that the way God describes all his fabulous creatures and parades them before Job, he makes each one of them seem, quote, like a monster walking in the sun. Yeah, the whole is a sort of psalm or rhapsody of the sense of wonder. The maker of all things is astonished at the things he has himself made. Yeah, but he made them that way, so. Alright, and God wanted Job to be astonished at the wildness of it all, even allowing for the fact that God has given man dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air and over the cattle over all the earth and over every creepy thing that creeps on the earth. Genesis 1:26. Even with dominion over all of these, man did not make or sustain these great wild animals. If mankind had so little authority over nature, could Job expect to have more control over the mysterious events of his life? No. And if God had control over these animals as well as the rest of creation, doesn't it seem to make sense that God would even have control over the things in Job's life? Yes. All right. Does the eagle mount up at your command? So Job was equally powerless to explain the eagle and its ways, and much less to command it. And it might seem that God was being harsh with Job, but one must compare what God said to Job with what Job's accusers thought God should say to him. God did not come to Job as a judge or even a policeman. He came to Job as a teacher, a loving, winsome, vivid, powerful, humorous teacher. God was once again with Job, in his proper relation, of course, and that was enough for Job. Teaching Job that, I'm sovereign over everything and you just need to trust me. And that all of us just need to do the same thing too. And Smick says, what these speeches do not contain is almost as important as what they do. These speeches do not reverse the Lord's judgment in the prologue about Job. They don't reverse what God said about Job and being righteous. Not at all. And Satan was wrong in impugning Job's inner reasons for being righteous, and the friends were wrong about Job's outward conduct as a reason for his suffering. Job did not get the bill of indictment or verdict, of innocence he wanted, but neither was he humiliated with the list of sins he had committed for which he was being punished. That's what Smick says. God was not coming at him, accusing him of this and that. Not at all. And Mason says, if we find it exasperating that God never gives Job any reasons for his long ordeal of suffering, then we have missed the point of these final chapters. While it is true that the Lord's answer to Job is neither logical nor theological, this is not the same as saying that he gives no answer. The Lord actually does give an answer. His answer is himself. And ultimately that we just need to trust him. If he's wired the universe and everything in it, and he has control over all of it, then surely he has control even over suffering and allowing suffering. All right. And Bradley finishes out this chapter. One thought and one only is brought into the foreground. The world is full of mysteries, strange, unapproachable, overpowering mysteries that you cannot read. Trust in the power and in the wisdom and the goodness of Him, the Almighty One who rules it. There you go. That's actually the end of the chapter. There really wasn't a whole lot of notes for this one, so this was pretty short. Alright, but God will continue speaking with Job in chapter 40, and Lord willing, I'll get to that next time. But until then, may God bless you, and the grace and mercy won by Jesus, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all.